Good morning, security gang, and welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast. It's great to be with all of y'all this morning, Monday, November 3rd, 2025. It's November already. It's November already. This year is just about over. Pretty soon, everything on your feeds will be reflecting on 2025, predicting 2026. We'll have a reflecting 2025, kind of like our biggest stories of the year. I was thinking about that yesterday, and as much as I hate that cliche stuff, some people have been telling me, "Hey, you should totally do it." So maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it. When people ask, we give. That's the motto here at the show. So, anyways, fact show for all y'all this morning. We have a lot to talk about. Um, busy weekend. I hope everyone got a chance to relax, enjoyed their Halloween with their loved ones, and are ready for Christmas music everywhere you go, Thanksgiving cheer, and the fact that really between now and the end of the year, which is around 58 days all in, um, there's lots to talk about. So without further ado, join me this morning for my favorite thing to do with all of y'all. And I do it without all of y'all just because I'm addicted. But my double espresso this morning. It's amazing. It's glorious. It's at the perfect temperature. May it power us through today's show. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. CyberHubPodcast.com. Go subscribe now. You get this very podcast right here in your inbox every single day. So you don't have to have the fear of FOMO, right? You don't have FOMO when you subscribe. It's free. You get this podcast right in your inbox. You get to listen to it, read it, enjoy it. Let's get started with this story here where apparently Telecom is still there. A nation state breach at one of the major US telecom backbone providers, Ribbon Communication, is coming to light after a long dwell time intrusion, likely starting in December of 24. It was detected in September of this year. It's being tied to a nation state actor who accessed corporate IT and older customer files on two laptops outside the main network, affecting at least three smaller customers. Ribbon itself sits deep in the global voice data routing with customers across major carriers and even US government. So this backbone layer supply chain risk, even if the company says has no material impact so far, could have a national security impact, right? When you're kind of the backbone, there's very little you can do. But you can see some of their partners potentially get concerned about data exposure, even potential intel collecting on some carrier interconnects that could end up proving to be a way into the networks. So that's something to keep in mind there as well. And again, these kind of breaches, we've talked about Salt Typhoon here on the show extensively over time. It's something that continues to come up. It's something that still continues to play a critical role in the fact that some of these organizations aren't really practicing the right hygiene. I'm not going to say they're dereliction. I don't think there's dereliction there, but I do think there's more to that. All right. UPenn and actors claiming 1.2 million donor records were breached. It was actually really funny. I saw it over the weekend where a hacker started taking credit for last week's "we got hacked" email saying the breach exposed 1.2 million donor records plus some internal documentation. UPenn has not yet verified the breach, although when you look at everyone who's sharing kind of the screenshot of "we got hacked," because the threat actor sent an email to everyone saying we're so dumb, essentially as UPenn, that there's you kind of want to believe him here. And last week I was skeptical whenever I say, like we talked about the Gmail and the HSBC thing, but today I'm telling you right now, this seems legit. You can assume that there's going to be some targeted phishing of some of these donors and even some of their advanced staff. You could be looking at potential donor fraud or even some business email compromise through staff development, taking advantage of that. So all of those folks play a big part of just why these things happen. Now, UPenn, this to me seems specifically more around this seems to be more around just a personal vendetta. All right. We'll move to China. We've got 3 stories covering China here, so buckle up. Palo Alto Networks is reporting a suspected Chinese Nexus cluster, CLSTA1009er, deploying 2 AirTalk variants of PowerShell and a .NET that abuse the VMware, AirWatch, or even Workspace ONE MDM APIs as covert C2s. The malware is code signed with likely stolen certs and uses a multi-threaded protocol, and it's turned for theft at scale. Screenshots, file listings, and even browser data like cookies, history, and profiles from Chrome, Edge, and even Island browser. They are targeting BPOs, business process outsources, that hold privileged access into client environments, classic supply chain leverage on behalf of the Chinese. So you could be looking at some impacts here within session hijacking and even data exfil via trusted vendor MDM plane. You could look at downstream compromise across multiple customers without even noisy malware beacons setting off. So you should log and alert unusual Workspace ONE or AirWatch API calls through your MDM. You should constrain vendor scope, especially to least privilege, if that's the case there, and you should neutralize session theft, force re-authentication, even though it's really, really uncomfortable for some users. You definitely want to do that. We continue with the Chinese here, where they're scanning and exploiting Cisco's ASAs at government and enterprises. Researchers are reporting that China-based actors are actively probing and chaining CVE 2025-20362, that's the authentication bypass, and CVE 2025-20333, that's the remote code execution on ASAs and FTDs, including government networks across the US, Europe, and Asia. The campaign suppresses logs, creates rogue admins, and even targets end-of-life 5500 X-liners. CISO drove an emergency patch push in the US public sector, so you could look at edge takeover, even VPN and session theft. If you don't patch this up, you're going to have some segmentation bypass and even some durable footholds within your environment. So you want to patch these up as soon as humanly possible within your environment and retire the end-of-life Cisco devices as well. We continue with the Lanscope Endpoint Manager 0-day. That's called the Brown's Butler or TIC, that's used for domain-wide access. This is being linked to China threat actor Brown's Butler that's exploiting a Motex Lanscope RCE 0-day to drop updated Go KCP door with system privileges. The fixes were shipped on October 20th. CISA already added it to its KEF catalog with near-term deadline. Expect a lot of AD reconnaissance and even RDP follow-on. If the endpoint manager is owned, the whole fleet is at risk, so make sure to patch this up right now. Otherwise, you're dealing with some significant risk to your organization. So we stay with Cisco here because Lord knows the Chinese love them some Cisco. I mean, if you were wondering how they got into Salt Typhoon got in, and you're seeing everything happening in Cisco right now, and you can't connect the 2 dots, I'll sit down with you and show you what I mean. So BadCandy on Cisco iOS XE still persisting into 2025. Australia's ASDs warning hundreds of unpatched iOS XE devices to continue to carry the BadCandy web shells tied to CVE 2023-201-9 Actors re-implement after superficial cleanup, sometimes mask and vulnerability state. You want to disable the web UI, patch fully, and purge rogue Priv 15 accounts. This could have full device control, traffic interception, even lateral movement from the perimeter, which is something you definitely don't want. Should lock down the management plane, validate configurations, post reboot, and continuously monitor for re-implement attempts coming from the threat actor. We'll move to this OpenVSX supply chain attack that we talked about last week. Tokens have been rotated after malicious extensions were inputted in the OpenVSX or VS code after researchers found 550 plus leaked secrets in the VS code and OpenVSX ecosystem. Threat actors used some exposed tokens to publish malicious extensions. OpenVSX has rotated some coins and tightened controls. Attackers have also experimented with Unicode hidden payloads on GitHub. So you want to enforce your marketplace hygiene in your dev fleet. Otherwise, you could be looking at dev workstations being compromised, which means your repo and CIs get compromises, which could also mean credential and wallet thefts. So you want to extension allow list. You want to org-wide token rotation on leak and a software bill of material manifest checks at install. Secret scanning and short-lived PATs also go a long way to help harden the environment you're trying to defend here. So Japan, for their end, extremely concerned about OT, issuing a 130-page OT security guidance for semiconductor fabs. The METI released comprehensive fab security guidance mapped to Japan's CPSF and aligned with NIST CSF 2.0 with reference architectures, asset inventories, vulnerability management, monitoring, IRDR, and even physical controls. Even non-Japanese fabs can use it as a baseline checklist. And you could probably see this get more and more global or enterprise adoption. Clear expectations for chip supply chain assurance as the Chinese concern, the Chinese ambitions, and the attack systems on OT increasing by the day. You should audit checklists, and an audit checklist should be part of anything incoming. You want to gap assess your fab lines to the guide, prioritize asset discovery and segmentation, which is really, really critical in OT. And you should consider setting up an OT tabletop exercise, which would go a really, really long way there as well. So there's that. We continue with the next story here, folks, and it's around CISA and NSA. The joint advisory gets off end-of-life builds and enforce MFA and modern authentication and Kerberos extended protection. This is coming after some new guidance to help IT administrator harden Microsoft Exchange servers on their networks. This should also say you should lock down admin access, apply CUs promptly, and consider decommissioning hybrid remnants that enable cloud lateralization like CVE 2025-53786 risks. This should reduce some well-trodden on-prem and cloud takeover path, implement the checklist, verify no lingering end-of-life servers, and enable emergency mitigation as part of your baseline. And again, when they're seeing this, they're seeing a lot of attacks, which is why they're putting it out there. Again, when two agencies do it, it's a red flag. And so you should take attention to that. The FCC is reversing the telecom cybersecurity mandate that was hastily passed on January 16th of this year by the Biden administration just days before they were to leave office. Reporting is signaling the FCC could roll back a planned cybersecurity requirement for telecoms, expect shifting compliance scope, and even potential state-level backfills or even private sector pressure via contracts. So this is going into the pushback that the FCC has been getting from industry over the rule, with some enforcement authorities, the commission concluding it lacks authority to enforce its interpretation of the CALIA without first adopting, implementing rules through notice and comment rulemaking, which wasn't the case when this was passed. Switching premises, Section 105 explicitly refers to the interceptions affected within the switching premises, but the ruling appeared to impose obligations across carrier entire networks. The commission found this completely ignoring clear statutory limits that CALIA has, and even interception definition was changed. They're looking at a more voluntary approach of provider commitments and more collaboration. All this coming into Salt Typhoon context that's coming through as well. So there was that aspect to it there. So we now know. All right. I kind of like the rollback by the FCC because I think it's coming because industry is pushing back saying like, we don't know how to comply with this. And the FCC doing what's logical and saying, all right, let's roll this back. Let's do this through the natural process where we'll suggest some rules. You guys will comment on it. We'll have the debate and then we'll push it through, which was the right approach. Now, to the credit and detriment of the Biden administration, they were just trying to react to Salt Typhoon and do something on the way out. The question is, were they really helping to secure something, or were they creating more legwork, more cost for telecom providers, which at the end of the day, every regulatory thing that's passed is paid for by the consumer, by the customer. That cost is passed down every time. So every piece of regulation increases your cost. I'm not saying we should allow our telecoms to do what they want, but if we're going to do this, we should do it through the process that's existed for generations. Yes, there are threats, but I doubt they want to be victims all the time, right? Like this isn't people saying, I don't care about cyber. It's saying, give us the right tool set and policies in place and take our feedback, because at the end of the day, we have to comply with it. So that's there. I'll take it. I think that's a good rollback by the FCC, and they'll roll something out that'll have buy-in from industry, so it'll actually be adhered to more and companies will invest in making sure they're compliant. That's a good thing. That's it for our show this morning. CyberHubPodcast.com is where you'll find a lot of content, including this very podcast right here in written format, in audio format, directly in your inbox so you never have FOMO. There's also exclusive articles that get released every Saturday and Sunday. So the days we don't have the show. We don't do the show on Friday. Friday, we have our weekly summary. That's available at cyberhubpodcast.com and our LinkedIn page. On Saturday and Sunday, exclusively at cyberhubpodcast.com, exclusive articles, kind of thought leadership pieces, or even analyzing specific events, the coming cybersecurity job market crisis, layoffs, offshoring, and the new national risk. All of that is available at cyberhubpodcast.com. So go there, sign up now. It's absolutely free, and get it all in your inbox every single week. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great week. Have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.